back on Sports Plus with the one and only Chris Jericho. Welcome to Dallas. We're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. In the back of this haunted hotel, it looks like haunted mansion.
I know we've got some creepy portraits. Yeah, and you've got a great book out now, full of really, really funny stories. I gotta tell you, I love the title.
Yeah, the title is The Best in the World at What? I have no idea. And the reason why I use that is this is my third book now, which is kind of crazy. Like, do I really need 3 autobiographies by the time I'm 43? Nixon has 1, and I have 3. But each one of them has had a title with a little bit of a punchline to it. And I do that because I want people to know when they read this book that I don't take myself seriously. There's a lot of ridiculous things that happen to me. I can laugh at myself because I know that I'm not going to sue myself. I know I'm not going to be insulted by myself. So I'm always my biggest target in my books. And that's why I always want to give a little indication of that in the titles as well.
Yeah, and the craziest part, it's all true.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, when they asked me to do a third book, I said, well, okay, I'll make this a trilogy. You know, I'll make this like the Return of the Jedi of my autobiographies. And I thought, like, what am I going to write about, though? Like, do I have enough stories? And then when I sat down and started, you know, the most productive time in my career was 2008, 2009, when I kind of reinvented myself. And we created this heel, as we call them, the bad guy, who people legitimately hated. You know, they were attacking me on the streets, and I started a riot in London and started a riot in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and all these different places. It was because people believed in it, and they even though the wrestling's a show, but that guy is real. He's a total jerk, and we don't like him. And so I could write about that and the classic angles that I had with Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio and CM Punk, and then there was also kind of the resurrection of Fozzy and all the rock and roll stories of being on the road with Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold and Shinedown, and you know, getting knocked out by Mike Tyson, having Mickey Rourke hire 3 bounty hunters to beat me up because he thought I was going to attack him, to you know, Dancing with the Stars, going to Iraq 3 times and getting stranded in an unsecure war zone, which means there may or may not have been Taliban snipers in the city that we were stuck in. So I started putting that all down. I was like, wow, I've got too much. I started to have to edit things out. So maybe there'll be a 4th book at some point. But I think this is probably my favorite of the 3, and a lot of people that have read it feel the same way.
Yeah, and what a great life, and what a varied life too. I mean, did you ever think when you were growing up, you know, I'm going to be a great wrestler, a great author, a speaker, a musician?
All I wanted to do when I was growing up is I wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those are my 2 goals. And I started playing in bands when I was like 14 and started wrestling at 19 and did them both.
Yeah.
Even when I was, you know, in Mexico working there, or Japan in the early 90s, I was still always writing songs and doing demos and jamming with unopened nights. So those are the 2 things that I wanted to do, and it's just part of who I am. I didn't just wake up one day and go, hey, I'm going to be in a rock band, or hey, I'm going to be a wrestler. It's just what I wanted to do. And all these other things are just offshoots of that. And writing books is just explaining those stories, or doing the podcast is focusing on that, the acting, you know, all that sort of stuff. It all comes from being a creative person and from knowing that if you have goals, just go for them. Because not only did I do it once, I did it twice. And this is people tell me you'll never do this. You know, it's easy to talk to Chris Jericho, the 6-time world champion, and this and that thing. But you know, when I told people I wanted to be a wrestler when I was 18 years old, laughing at me. I remember being in the front of my church where the pastor said, you know, Chris is going away to Calgary to become a wrestler from Winnipeg, and people in the congregation snickering, ha ha ha. And it's like, you know, I might as well have been saying that I'm going to go to join the circus to be a sword swallower or a mime or something. So it was a real kind of uphill battle, but I believed in myself and I made it happen, not just once but twice. Yeah. So that's another kind of underlying message in all my books is if you want to do something, you can do it. Go out there and make it happen.
Absolutely, which is an inspirational thing, and it's nice to have kids look up to you, right? Because I mean, it could go the other way.
You know, absolutely. And I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of things that I wish I didn't do, but you know, I like to talk about those in my book as well. A lot of times people will write an autobiography and just talk about how great they are, or maybe victimized, but for me, like, I'm in control of my own destiny, and I make my own mistakes, and I made plenty of them. So I think that's okay for people to read that too, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm doing my best to be me and to do what I do, which is entertain. Yeah. And I think, you know, when kids look up to me or people look up to me, it's always an honor to hear that. And the best way I can repay that is just by giving a person a couple seconds of my time, you know, handshake and a picture and say hi and smile and all that sort of thing. It doesn't take long to do that. I actually learned that from Ronnie James Dio, the late great Dio. who said, give everyone their moment. Because one night I saw him signing autographs for everybody in the parking lot. I was like, man, you didn't have to do that. He goes, no. He said, if I sign this autograph, I don't remember it, but they'll never forget it. Give people their moment. And I've always tried to kind of live by that. I don't always succeed, but I always try and give people their moment because they'll never forget it. I remember when I was a kid and met Hulk Hogan in the Airliner Inn, Polo Park Inn in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and he shook my hand and asked my name. And I was like, oh my God. And I'll never forget that. I was probably 14 years old, but Hulk Hogan asked me my name. I never forgot that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's so cool. So what's left that you want to accomplish? Because, I mean, you've sort of got both of those big things off your checklist, and then many more have come since then.
Yeah, I don't really have like an overall checklist where I'm trying to think, I want to do this, and that. I mean, things just kind of come my way. Like I never said, I want to host a show about giant fighting robots, which I did a couple of years ago on Robot Combat League for Sci-Fi. It just came across my desk. It sounded interesting to me, and I went for it. Or, never sat down and said, I want to be a podcast host. Opportunity came up. I thought I'd have fun with it. And a year later, it's one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
Yeah.
So I just kind of go with the flow and go with my feeling and follow my heart. Like this sounds like a good project. I got to pass on that one. I pass on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If I wrote a list of all the, I should do that maybe for my next book. Write a list of all the reality shows that I turned down. Celebrity high diving was one of them. It was actually a real thing. Louis Anderson did it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So you can't do everything, nor do I want to do everything. I just kind of stick within what do I think I can give 1,000% at. And I think that's why I have a pretty big fan base, because they know no matter what I do, I'm going to give it my all, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be good.
Yeah, well, I know you have your likeness everywhere for a lot of the wrestling things, but you don't get to ask this to someone every day. But what's it like to have your own action figure?
It's pretty cool, and the technology is really amped up over the last few years. Now they take a scan of your face, and it's real intricate, and it's really cool, and it looks like you. Whereas the other ones, in the early 2000s, I kind of looked like Skeletor with my really high forehead, and my face was weird. I remember my son was little; he called it Evil Daddy. He didn't like that one, and it was like, it's just me. Yeah. But I think actually there's like 140 or 150 action figures now. And I don't even have them all. You might think, oh, they're going to send you. They don't send me anything. If I go to a store and see one that I haven't seen, I got to go up to the front and buy it. Hopefully the person doesn't recognize, like, why are you buying your own action figure? And then once in a while I'll get a box of like 20 of the same one. I'm like, I don't want 20 of the same one. I just want one of each. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff is cool. I like doing these book signings or signings because I'll see a lot of things that I never knew existed. The one that I just saw was a Chris Jericho coloring book that I never knew existed, and then the Chris Jericho bowling ball, which I've heard rumors of. It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster. Like, I've heard rumors of this mythical thing, and then someone actually brought one and gave it to me, and then of course I promptly lost it somewhere. I left it in one of the tour buses somewhere in a closet. It was I just wish I had that bowling ball.
That's pretty amazing. Actually, I don't think I've ever met anyone who's had a bowling ball after
there you
them.
go.
So there
That's
you
right.
go.
You know, Tom Hanks doesn't have his own bowling ball.
That's right.
Gretzky doesn't have his own bowling ball. Only Jericho, although I'm not sure it exists. If you have one of them out there, please let me know.
Now, we also got to ask about Fozzy, because we're excited you've got your 6th album out now, and you're playing Trees November 30th. So it's been kind of cool to see the rise of the band, because at first no one knew.
It's just kind of a fun side project, and a lot of people think, oh, it's a wrestling thing. How good can it be? And I knew that. I mean, people are always going to have a perception when you do something outside of the box. Like I said, when I first wanted to be a wrestler, people laughed. So it was the same with the band. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've really made Fozzy the focus and the priority, and that's when you can really see the growth of the band. And our new record, You Want to Start a War, came out in July. It was top 50 in the Billboard charts, and Lights Go Out was top 20 in the rock radio charts. So I mean, that's the highest. And those are some pretty lofty numbers. You start getting in there, you're in some rarefied air, and that's not because of me. That's because of the quality of the songs. Because I remember Paul Stanley said it once. Kiss wears makeup, but you can't put makeup on an album. Either the songs are good or they're not. And we've had to work twice as hard to get people's respect because we put on great live shows and because the songs are great and people know this is the real deal. The fan base continues to grow at a fast pace every year, every show that we do. And it's great to come to Dallas. I mean, we played the amphitheater here a couple years ago. We played House of Blues last year. Now to do Trees, it's great to play all these great places. And Dallas is an awesome rock and roll town. They're an awesome wrestling town. It's a great Chris Jericho town for me. So I always enjoy coming to Dallas.
Absolutely. And tonight you're going to do a big book signing at Barnes & Noble. And what are these like to be that up close and personal with the fans?
Well, like I mentioned, I mean, it's always great to have, you know, people lined up around the corner to see you. And still, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still some Spinal Tap moments too. You get there and there's like 5 people there and it's like, what happened? So then you're writing, to Bartholomew, my longest and most loyal fan. So nice to see you today. I love your, you know, blue shirt and your black pants. And it's like you're writing out this whole thing because I'm trying to kill as much time as I can. So it's a crapshoot as far as that goes. You just never know who's going to show up. But it's always nice when you get there and there's a whole armada of people. But even if there's not, I mean, if one person shows up, it means something to me because people are taking time out of their day to drive to, you know, this bookstore, don't know where they're from, how long of a drive it's been, and plus, you know, they're buying a book, they're paying money to purchase something that I created. So I never take that for granted and always try and smile. It's funny too because I always wear sunglasses for it. And I think sometimes people think that, oh, it's pretentious. It's not that. It's that a couple reasons. One, everybody has a camera now, but no one knows how to work it.
Right.
All right, let me just, I'm sorry, how does this work? So instead of just like smiling, I can actually close my eyes and take a break for a second. And then also too, there's a lot of flashes, and too many flashes gets me like weird, and I get all like messed up. So if you see me wearing sunglasses, it's not because I'm trying to be too cool for school. It's I'm just trying not to get a bad headache and I lose my patience where people's moms are always the worst. They can never figure out the camera. How does this thing work? Just press the button, Mom. Which one? This one there. Which one? This one here. Everyone's mom's the same. Sometimes I gotta grab the camera. So let's just take a selfie. Boom, done. See ya.
Yeah, nice. Well, the last thing we always like to ask people their Hail Mary moment, the moment in their career where they just had to go for it and it worked out for them. What do you suppose that was for you?
I think back in 2001, I won the Undisputed Championship. I beat The Rock and Steve Austin the same night. You know, that's all part of the show. Yeah. But being the champion was a real thing. Like to get that honor and to get that responsibility, someone had to believe in me. It was a little bit of a rough start for me, and I started hearing rumors they were going to take it away from me, have me lose it right away instead of the plan of taking it for 3 or 4 months. So I went to Vince McMahon. My Hail Mary moment, I just told him, listen, man, you know, this is my time. You know, if someone doesn't believe in me, they can F themselves. If you don't believe me, you can F yourself too, because this is my time. I'm taking it, and I'm gonna do everything I can to make it work, because I am it. I am the Undisputed Champion. I just remember the look on his face. He's like, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. So the time when I told my boss to go F himself, and he responded with a big smile, it was a gamble, because he could have, you know, fired me on the spot, but I figured I'm going to lose this thing either way, and if I lose it, I'll never get it back. But if I go there and tell him, listen, this is what's up, and he believes me and gives me another shot. And, you know, 15 years later, I still work for Vince whenever I can.
Absolutely, yeah. So we hope to see you in the ring again sometime soon.
Yeah, I mean, no plans. Like I said, I went back this summer because Fozzy was off the road. I had a good 3-month run, and you know, if my schedule works out, and for them too, they're not exactly sitting around waiting for Chris Jericho to come back. I mean, if it works out for both of us and we can come up with something cool to do, then I'd love to come back. I still feel that I'm working, you know, wrestling at the highest of level, the standard that I set for myself. And the moment that I feel I can't work up to that level, I'll quit. I'll never do it again. You know, I don't want to be an 80% Chris Jericho or a 90%. I need to be 100% Jericho every time I step into the ring or every time I do anything, or else it's not for me anymore. So far I haven't hit that point yet.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll be back with more on Sports Plus next.